Hey guys, this is Salem Mando here, and as you have obviously noticed, I am wearing a few things that I haven't in any of these previous videos. Glasses, watch, and bowie hat. Reason for this is because today's video is about, well, it includes a theory. And what kind of theory, you may be asking? Well, in case you were, well, for those of you who didn't pay much attention to the title of the video, we are doing a RWBY theory. Now, at the time this video is being made, or at least at the time this video was started, RWBY Volume 4, Chapter 11, Taking Control, has been released to YouTube for the YouTube community as a whole. And so, as a result, the gears started grinding in my brain, getting me thinking, what if Salem was the Winter Maiden? Holy crud, right? Now, for those of you probably wondering about this, and the evidence that I have to support this, well, it's not really solid. Remember, this is just a theory that came out of nowhere for me. But as I started thinking, there is a small amount of evidence to support this particular theory. So, let's start the timer and begin. Now, to start off, this RWBY theory has several things going for it. First of all, the fact that other than maybe Amber being tailed by Crow from a very large distance, we haven't been shown or told anywhere in the RWBY series up to this point about whether or not the remaining maidens have had an eye kept on them in their respective kingdoms. So, in other words, it's the Winter Maiden. So, in other words, that is actually a substantial pointer towards Salem being the Winter Maiden. She could already be the Winter Maiden. And in fact, that brings to mind another theory, now that I'm thinking about it, that Salem could eventually be trying to gain the power of the Four Maidens for herself. Now, some other evidence supporting the Salem is the Winter Maiden theory here is for one thing, from the very start of the RWBY series, she is said to have the large and complicated soul as implicated by Professor Ozpin during the intro narration of the first chapter of Volume 1 of RWBY, entitled, appropriately enough, RWBY. Now, all things considered, where is this going, you might ask? Well, allow me to explain. The fact that the Winter Maiden has been depicted as being someone with control over water, or at least ice, in general, if not just the general element of water. The Four Maidens actually have control over respective elements. The Winter Maiden, which was the first to appear, in the story of the Four Maidens, had control over water or ice. It was never made clear which of the two. It was just made clear that she had control over some aspect of the element of water. It could very well be that she has control over the element of water in general, but that remains to be seen as this time. Now, the second maiden to appear, the Spring Maiden, had control over the element of earth. Evidence supporting this fact is the fact that in the video depicting the Four Maidens, the Spring Maiden was shown holding a seedling or a baby plant in her hand, strongly suggesting that she had power over plants at the very least, which, by the way, plants are a facet of the element of earth. Having control over the earth, which is, in fact, the strongest element, in the fact that it is both highly abundant and, for another thing, there is quite a bit of it all over the place. In fact, some could even consider Earth to be the second strongest in abundance, because aside from Earth, we also have air. Now moving on, the Summer Maiden has power over the element of fire. I'd have to watch now, for those of you who have watched that particular video involving the tale of Four Maidens, you would know that you would be able to see for yourselves where I'm going with this. It's the Summer Maiden having the power over the elements of fire in general is actually not that far-fetched, being the fact that summer is typically associated with heat and life in general. Fire generally brings life. If you look at all the lore surrounding how humankind first came to acquire the ability to use fire to begin with, Greek myth is the most prominent for me because, quite frankly, that's where I got the first stories of how man came to acquire the use of fire to begin with. And last but not least, we have the Fall Maiden. And believe you me, the Fall Maiden has had the most screen time made available up to this point. In other words, the Four Maiden has power over the element of air. Being the most powerful of the maidens, is on account of air is highly abundant, and the fact that when winds, and the fact that air generally involves temperature control, which stems from convection currents. Now, for those of you who don't know what convection currents are, go ahead and Google it for now. I might very well do 4 separate videos on the maidens themselves. But in following with the theory that Salem is the Winter Maiden, we still have... The one problem with this theory is the fact that Salem has yet to show any of her abilities. All we do know about her is that she has some connection with the Grimm. The creatures of Grimm and Salem share a deep connection of sorts. And as a result, we have a lot to worry about on Salem's end. Whereas Cinder has become the Four Maiden. And finally, we have the potential here for Cinder to potentially change sides. And in fact, for those of you who have managed to watch Taking Control, Chapter 11 of Volume 4 of RWBY, it could very well be that, well, Cinder wasn't lying when she said she created power. It could be that the kind of power she sought has changed. And as a result, she is in fact looking... While she does have power, she simply is unused to it, and could very well be having second thoughts about following Salem's designs. Well, that's all I have for this video for today. So, keep an eye out for the watch hat and glasses for more theories coming your way. So, till then, this is Sal Aragon Mander signing off. Zayalava.